What's going on, guys? JSGC here, back again with another Man City transfer video, where today we're going to be warmly welcoming Manchester City's third goalkeeper of this summer transfer window, and it's the big name Gianluigi Donnarumma being brought in from PSG. So I wanted to welcome Donnarumma to the football club. So having a look then at Gianluigi Donnarumma and what to expect from him at Manchester City, we're looking here, and I know you guys have been craving about this for a long time, we're looking here at a goalkeeper who's excellent with his shot stopping. I think there's no one's going to sit here and dispute the fact that Donnarumma is very much a big game player. You know, you get your big Champions League games, your big knockout games in the domestic cups, and your big games in the Premier League, and you're needing these big moments with your big goalkeeper in goal to be able to save the shots and make the difference. And Gianluigi Donnarumma is very much that kind of goalkeeper. Experienced, despite only being 26 years old, which is still pretty young for a goalkeeper. A proven winner, obviously winning the Champions League with PSG just last season. He was very important with PSG in helping them to achieve their goals, helping them to win penalty shootouts, including against Liverpool. It was so important in the quarter-final, saving important shots, in particular at Villa Park. So he's got a real good proven track record, even here in England in the Champions League, and the biggest, most important games to pull off the big saves. And for me, the goalkeepers that are available on the market, there is no one out there better than Gianluigi Donnarumma. And we're going off the fact here that Ederson's wanted to leave Man City this summer. His contract was up next summer, so it was well within Ederson's best interest that if things can be sorted this summer rather than next summer, then you get things sorted sooner rather than later, in particular if the player's head isn't completely where it needs to be for the high-end competitive football, which is why Manchester City, for the first 3 Premier League games, have been running with James Trafford. And speaking of James Trafford, I'm sure this signing does bring about many questions, in particular about how are you going to manage the game time between Donnarumma and James Trafford, because James Trafford, just 22 years old, a high-quality homegrown goalkeeper, a potential future England #1 in the coming seasons, and he's a goalkeeper that's going to need to get plenty of minutes and plenty of game time to allow him to develop to be the best of his ability. He's not come to Man City to sit on the bench and be Donnarumma's understudy for all of our games, and it's not just going to be Carabao Cup and FA Cup games. I'm talking here about some good quality rotation where James Trafford, I'm sure, is going to get starts and minutes in the Premier League and also in the Champions League as well. So it's all about managing our game time, and what we've got with James Trafford and what we've got with Gianluigi Donnarumma are two very different kinds of goalkeepers. And I think if I was in charge at Manchester City and I were looking about which goalkeeper do you want to go with, well, if we're needing distribution, or we're looking at a game and we're thinking it's an ideal opportunity for James Trafford to grow and develop, then you start James Trafford. I would say in the biggest, most important games, you want your goalkeepers to be sharp, so you've got to ensure that regular game time is there for both goalkeepers. And I think for the biggest of games, if we've got both goalkeepers fit and both goalkeepers are sharp, I think Donnarumma would probably get the nod as being Man City's first choice #1 goalkeeper. So I think the goalkeeping situation by City is going to be managed a little different to what we've seen with both Ederson and Stefan Ortega, because what we've grown used to is Ederson being our first choice goalkeeper and brilliant with his distribution, and Ortega for me has been the better shot stopper, being the understudy to Ederson, who gets given the nod whenever he's needed in the cup games, whether he's needed for squad rotation or whether he's needed because Ederson's injured. Whereas with James Trafford and Gianluigi Donnarumma, it's kind of roles reversed. We're looking here for James Trafford, I think a goalkeeper growing through the City Academy, very comfortable with the ball at his feet, knows how to distribute the ball both with his long range and short range passing. Yes, it's not completely up to the standard that we've got from Ederson, but James Trafford's so young, so you know, in 4 or 5 years time we could be speaking about James Trafford having that level of distribution that Ederson has right now in his locker. It's just going to take a bit of time to grow and develop, and that's okay for a goalkeeper so young at 22 years old. And then your first choice goalkeeper goes to be the goalkeeper who's incredibly experienced, who's a fantastic shot stopper and a proven winner in Gianluigi Donnarumma. And no matter which way you want to look at it, for me, I think they're both real good positives. We've gone from having 2 brilliant goalkeepers in Ederson and Stefan Ortega to having 2 brilliant goalkeepers in Gianluigi Donnarumma and James Trafford, and I'm excited to see how this goalkeeping situation is going to play out. about. I think this is one of these matters that I would say to both goalkeepers. You give yourself a couple of seasons, both this season and next season, to see what things are looking like before you decide on what happens next, because obviously the downside to having two fantastic goalkeepers is eventually someone's going to be left unhappy about not getting the starts for the big games. So do you alternate between big games, 8 big Champions League games? Do you give 4 to Donnarumma and 4 to James Trafford? Do you look at, like, for example, Man City's game that we've got coming up against Manchester United at home, followed by Arsenal away the weekend after in the Premier League? Do you look at that and do you say James Trafford starts one of them big games and Gianluigi Donnarumma starts the other? How do you work the alternations here between the two goalkeepers? I think that's going to be really interesting in how City are going to make this work in keeping both goalkeepers happy. I think eventually we're going to get to a bridge where one of these two goalkeepers is going to be unhappy with game time and they're going to eventually leave Manchester City. And right now, I don't know which goalkeeper that's going to be, but that's for the future. That's for a couple of seasons' time. And for me, you cross that bridge when you get to it. What you want to focus on is the here and now. You need two high-quality goalkeepers, because if you don't, you're going to get stung. Manchester City having James Trafford and Gianluigi Donnarumma available to them, I think, are two fantastic goalkeeping options, as good as two choice goalkeepers that you're going to get out there as far as I'm concerned. And I'm really intrigued to see how Man City are going to make this work. Now, City have taken a bit of a risk, and as Pep Guardiola was saying after Man City's defeat against Brighton just yesterday, it is going to take quite a lot of time for Man City to be able to embed their philosophy and style of play to these players, and for these players to adapt and get used to how Man City want them to play. So questions here, Gianluigi Donnarumma not the best with his feet. How is he going to develop that? What's he going to look like working with the City coaches? How is Donnarumma going to influence the style of play and obviously the shot-stopping abilities of James Trafford, and vice versa? What impact is James Trafford going to have on the growth and development of Gianluigi Donnarumma? And I'm certain that these two goalkeepers are going to learn and grow from each other, that we're going to end up with two brilliant goalkeepers, and eventually one of these brilliant goalkeepers will end up leaving to get more game time to be a first choice number one traditional goalkeeper at another club. And that was the situation was always facing with the Ederson and Stefan Ortega situation as well. I do think Man City have taken a bit of a risk here, obviously with our three goalkeepers that we had available to us from last season. So it goes from first choice Ederson, second choice Stefan Ortega Moreno, and third choice Scott Carson. It's all action change with Man City, going with Gianluigi Donnarumma, James Trafford and Marcus Bettinelli as our three choice goalkeepers, and we're waiting to see what the complete situation is like with Stefan Ortega maybe leaving Man City or maybe not, and what things are going to look like in terms of registrations. Can City go out and register Stefan Ortega and obviously somebody else ends up missing out in the first team squad, or do you not register him, which is going to be detrimental to his impact, of course, when it comes to the World Cup squad announcements next summer. So these are all situations that Man City need to think about for the here and now on transfer deadline day, and Man City leaving things so late, probably just feeling the repercussions of us being so quiet between June 10th and the end of July, where we've got a good 6, 7, 8 weeks or so where we just didn't really do the business that needed to be done, and it meant that now we've got to get things sorted as late as possible, which is never ideal, because you always want your players available. And in an ideal world, I'd have wanted this Ederson and Ortega and Scott Carson situation sorted 4 to 6 weeks ago, and we could have had James Trafford here at the end of July, Gianluigi Donnarumma here at the end of July, and we could have had Marcus Bettinelli here as well, ready for the start of pre-season, and these players could have had a good 4 weeks or so under their belt getting used to Man City's system, because the sooner they're here, the sooner they're working, the sooner they're going to get used to the system, and the sooner we're going to get the very best out of these football players. So it's just going to take a little bit of time, and the same with Gianluigi Donnarumma. I know he's incredibly experienced, good with his shot stopping, a world-class goalkeeper. It's going to take him a bit of time to adapt, and it'll be interesting to see how City adapt around him, about who's going to be taking the goal kicks, because PSG I know have their defenders taking their goal kicks, and Man City going to adapt that. Are they going to trust in Donnarumma, or are they just going to say traditionally just stick to sitting in goal because City like their goalkeepers to sweep? Are City going to change their approach and change their philosophy around their new goalkeeper? Really interesting to see. The fact that Hugo Viana thinks that he's good enough to come to Man City, and the fact that Pep Guardiola has given the green light for Gianluigi Donnarumma as well is very interesting, I think, from Man City, and we'll see how this does work out over the season. I know there's a lot of reservations, I know there's a bit of negativity out there, but make no mistake, when we're looking here with Man City, you know, backs against the wall, and you needed a goalkeeper to pull off some big stops and keep you in games and make them big saves in them big moments, Gianluigi Donnarumma is that goalkeeper that you want. So for me, a real good signing this by Manchester City, a good show of intent. I'm going to find the style of play, philosophy, and what's going to happen in terms of change here really interesting at Manchester City. For me, probably the biggest signing, the biggest risk signing that we've taken in this transfer window. As I said, making 3 changes with your goalkeepers is risky business. It wasn't something that I would advise, so it's going to take a bit of time, and obviously transition takes a bit of time, so we'll see what does happen. I don't know what else to say, to be honest with you guys, other than welcome Gianluigi Donnarumma to Manchester City, and wishing him all the best, and I'm looking forward to seeing him playing with Manchester City, making his debut, and him showcasing what he can do. So they have been my thoughts. Do get your thoughts in the comments below, including welcoming Gianluigi Donnarumma to Manchester City from PSG as Ederson heads to Fenerbahce in Turkey. Also, don't forget as well to leave a thumbs up on today's video. We're aiming for 300 likes. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you're new around here. We're less than 300 subs now from my goal of 47,000 subscribers, so any help towards that would be much appreciated. Social media links are in the description too if you want to go and follow me on my X, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships or any videos or any general business inquiries, and I'll see you real soon for the next City transfer video. So I've been JSGC. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope everyone is safe and well. Peace. Ciao for now. Welcome Donnarumma to Manchester City.